And good morning and welcome to Houston Newsmakers and welcome to Houston Mayor Sylvester Turner.
Good morning, Campbell.
It's been a long time.
Well, you know.
You're overdue.
Oh, man. I've been looking forward to being with you this morning.
You've been busy, though. I think back to it, and you're coming up on 2 years.
It will soon be 2 years.
And it seems like it's gone by very quickly. Very few dull moments, hasn't it?
It has. It's been fast-paced, fast-moving, which is good.
Yeah.
But we've had a lot of things to do.
A lot of challenges.
A lot of challenges, but at the same time, you know, a lot of opportunities. A lot of good things that have happened in the city. But we've had some challenging moments. But even in those challenging moments, the city has responded very, very well. We're
going to talk about the upcoming election, I know, which is early voting starts tomorrow, and there's a lot riding on that. We'll talk about that.
Okay.
But let's talk about Hurricane Harvey first, the impact from that crisis. And the city is still recovering. I know the city has never seen the kind of impact caused by Harvey, but the truth is that you have been dealing with flood issues almost from the very beginning. In fact, when you were a candidate was when we had the Memorial Day flood, and then we had the Tax Day flood.
April of 2016.
So they're seared into your mind, aren't they? This whole process, now that we're on the backside of Hurricane Harvey and the results, what sticks out in your mind about that process?
We're on the backside, but now these storms are coming much more frequently. We're experiencing these major 500-year floods, it appears, almost every year. This one was unprecedented, 50 inches of rain in some places, 27 trillion gallons of water, totally unprecedented. More rain fell on the Houston region than at any place in the country at any time. But having said that, we're in the recovery, rebuilding phase. People stepped up. You know, so many people to thank, from first responders to neighbors to Good Samaritans, people from outside of our state have been very, very supportive. And most importantly, people who were directly impacted, whose homes flooded, you know, they have been very resilient. Their spirits have been good and strong. And so I'm very, very proud about that.
It seems to me one of the biggest challenges, too, is managing people's expectations about how long of a process this might be.
Yeah, this is not going to be an overnight deal. It's not going to be like a one-year deal. We'll be dealing with it for a few years. The costs are going to be astronomical. They're going to be high. We've already identified more than $1 billion in costs. Okay, and then there were things that we did during the hurricane while we were right in the midst of that rainfall to keep our Northeast Water Purification Plant running. It never went down, but there were costs associated with that. The 2 wastewater treatment facilities in West Houston, they were totally submerged. So there were things that we had to do to put in a bypass system to keep those systems running, so to speak. Those costs have yet to come through. And then there are thousands of people who are in homes that need to be rehabbed. And I'm especially sensitive to our seniors, people with special needs, people in low-income communities, and people who would be in the middle-income class that literally saw their furniture placed on the curb, and they have exhausted their savings, so they too need help as well.
And we see those lines of people who are waiting for DSNAP assistance, which is Disaster Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. It's not a city program, but seeing those lines does kind of show again that this process is ongoing. There's still a lot of people.
Yeah, and it's not a city program. That's between the feds, the state, the county. The lines are long. So again, it does point out the tremendous amount of needs that still exist, even though the water is no longer in the homes or on the streets. The damage is inside the walls, inside these homes, and we need to address that.
We could do a whole program on just the topic of what to do about flooding, and you're incorporating some of that in what you're doing with your administration. But you've talked about raising taxes at some point. You said, look, we got to do this.
Well, not me.
Well, Judge Emmett has talked about putting something on a ballot, but you had raised the issue of some sort of tax for a short-term fix. You wanted to get the rainy day fund money, correct?
Well, the rainy day fund money from the state. We do need to have funding for the mitigation projects, like building that third reservoir, but we're looking to the feds to provide those dollars. Expanding the widening of the bayous. Now, the city did borrow money from the Texas Water Development Board, which was approved at 0 interest, $47 million. We're going to pass that over to the Harris County Flood Control District so that they can, along with the Corps of Engineers, can start completing Project Braze along Buffalo Bayou in that Maryland Bracewood area. So we did borrow money to pass it over to the Harris County Flood Control District because we need to get that project completed. It was scheduled to be completed in 21, 22, but we need to move it along faster. But we do need to work collectively to draw down dollars from the feds, from FEMA, from the federal government, to put in place mitigation projects that we know will reduce the risk of thousands of homes flooding. Expanding the bayous, we've identified 3, total cost of $311 million. A third reservoir in that West Houston, that's Cypress Creek area. Right. The cost of that is $400 to $500 million.
How optimistic are you about some of these things happening? That's a long-range project, but this is something you have to go kind of outside the box thinking to try to get some sort of solution.
I'm very optimistic. After Hurricane Katrina, the feds did appropriate, for example, $14 billion for a mitigation program in Louisiana. We need them to do the same thing now for the state of Texas. If the storm had hit the Galveston Bay and we had had a huge storm surge, it would have been horrendous for the port, for homes where the water couldn't get out of the bayous. It would have backed up into streets, into businesses. The cost of building the coastal spine, gates that will deal with that storm surge, that's about $12 billion. So collectively, the ask from us, those of us from Texas in this region, to the feds should be about, let's say, 13 or 14 billion, which is the same amount that the feds awarded to Louisiana after the storm for Hurricane Katrina. So this is not unprecedented, it's not new, but you can't ask people to rebuild or businesses to rebuild in the same locations if we are not engaging in mitigation strategies to reduce the risk of flooding in future storm events.
And now you're also asking people to go to the polls. I got a minute left in this segment, but why is it so important that people are voting for these bond issues?
Because as we deal with the recovery from Hurricane Harvey, we still have to maintain the operations of the city of Houston. Police and fire, public safety. They're driving old vehicles, we need better equipment. Police and fire stations, all of that's critically important. That's public safety, and that's my #1 priority, even with the Hurricane Harvey. With respect to our parks, critically important. Libraries, critically important. And multi-service center, health centers, those are things in A-Leaf. They've been waiting on that multi-service center for 20 years, okay? So even while we deal with the recovery, we still have to take care of the day-to-day operations of the city of Houston. You can't stop. The lights have to stay on. Buses have to continue to run, and the maintenance has to be maintained.
Well, on paper, it all sounds good. Sounds good to me, but there is opposition, and we'll talk about that. And we'll also talk about what's going on between you and the firefighters. I'll shake your hand, by the way. I don't want to make light of something that was a little tense situation, but we'll talk about all of that coming up right after this break.
Thanks.